Hello, I'm Matt Barbette. Welcome to Lincoln for British Cycling's National Road Racing Championships. Coming up, highlights of the icing on the cake, the elite men's and women's road races. Weather's a bit more autumnal than spring-like, but the racing is on and it's been fantastic so far.
It is absolutely spectacular atmosphere here in the heart of this beautiful city of Lincoln.
It's such a special race, isn't it? The atmosphere, the crowds.
Ethan Hayter thundering down the finishing straight, and Henderson besting everybody else by a minute.
It's all about winning that jersey and getting your hands in the air.
Yeah, brush shoulders with some of the biggest names in women's cycling, really, and not just in the UK. It just gives you such a big boost.
Different atmosphere, special atmosphere, and after the 18 months everyone's had, we need this race.
The tension mounts, just moments to go now before the flag drops.
This is the big one that they want to win.
She crosses the line, she is the women's national circuit rate champion. Across the line to the flashbulbs, great atmosphere building.
Oh, and a crash there in the peloton, another rider down.
Looks like he's just about gone through the inside into that final chicane. What a move by Ethan Hayter! It looks like he's going to take it. Liz Hayter makes it title number 2.
Joining me here on Lincoln's famous cobbled streets is Danielle from British Cycling. Great to see you. Weather's not fantastic today, but that's because the race has moved from, well, spring for the Lincoln GP, summer for the Nationals to October here in Lincoln. But at least it's on.
Absolutely, we're so thrilled and probably a bit relieved that it's actually on. We've been able to put the championships on. We're better to put it on than a city like Lincoln with such cycling pedigree. And it's been such a tricky time for all events, live events in sport, not just in cycling. So we're so pleased, we're so thankful to the organisers, the City Council and all of the volunteers. And it's also brilliant to bring all 3 championships together in one event, which is new, and hopefully that makes it more memorable for the fans on the streets.
Absolutely right, the circuit championships, the TT and the road races as well. We've had good crowds out. They love it here in Lincoln.
They absolutely love it. It's so important that we have these great domestic events just to inspire the next generation. We saw the impact of the Olympic and Paralympic Games and how the cycling success captured the imagination of the nation. We hope that whilst there'll be people here, perhaps the next Anna Shackley, Matt Walls, Ethan Hayter, watching, inspired by what they're seeing and hoping it's them someday, but also just for everyone. Cycling is absolutely for everyone, and we hope that it inspires more people to ride their bikes, whatever their age, background or aspiration.
Certainly hope so. Danielle, thanks very much indeed. And the first riders they're going to see racing are the elite women. Let's hear from some of them now.
There's some super strong girls, some really good strong teams as well, and the national championships is always quite an interesting one to see where the teams work together, what the dynamics are.
I think we're the last country in the world to actually be hosting the nationals, so yeah, it's pretty weird to be doing it in October. Tomorrow will be my last race of the season, which is a strange way to look at it.
I remember when I won it in Norfolk, it was, I was really hungry to win it, and it's something that everyone wants to win, and you have the stripes on your arms for the rest of your career. So yeah, it's been an honour to have it for so long.
I think the really big challenge is making sure you're well positioned before you hit Michael Gate, because if you are too far back, no matter how strong you are, you're just stuck behind riders, and then it's really, really difficult, and you can actually end up having to put a foot down, or heaven forbid falling off, whatever. So yeah, the positioning into the bottom of the climb is really important.
It's a race that's very different to any other race we do. There's just me and Alice in it, so you haven't got those other 4 riders to help you, and it's a different dynamic. The tactics you have to change a bit and be really smart and clever.
I've raced at Lincoln a few times, and the atmosphere is always really great, and it's such a great course for a good race.
I mean, Anna Henderson, that time trial victory shows how strong she is at the moment. We've got Pfeiffer, we've got Joss, who's just done the world hour record. So yeah, the field's really stacked, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to going out there and having a go.
Danielle, focusing on the women's field, really strong this year.
It's absolutely fantastic to see so many brilliant riders. It's too close to call, and for some of those riders, it's their first national championship. We hope they have a great experience, and they'll be following in the footsteps of some greats.
They certainly will. Alice Barnes, the defending champion, she's won here in Lincoln, the Lincoln GP, twice before. Coming up the Michael Gate, you can just see behind us there. They've got to do it several times as well. Let's have a look at the route map right now.
We start and finish in Castle Square. We head north out of the town, through Burton Village, where there's a really technical descent, as you can see there. That takes us across to the A57 before we head back towards the city centre via Yarborough Road, which takes us in turn to the fearsomely steep slopes of the Michael Gate. 8 laps for the women and 13 laps for the men.
OK, let's get straight to the action now. Highlights of the elite women's road race with the commentary team of Hannah Walker and Matt Stevens.
Here we are on the start line. Only a few seconds to go before the Women's Elite National Road Race Championships gets underway on this wonderfully iconic circuit. A rather dismal Lincoln, but I think we're going to have a sparkling race. And alongside me for the ride, Hannah Walker. Hannah, the Lincoln Grand Prix is one of the most iconic races on the British calendar, but combined with the British Championships makes it really, really quite exciting, a kind of mouth-watering proposition.
It's such a special race, isn't it? Along with the course, the organisation, the atmosphere, the crowds. It's one of those races on a rider's Palmares during their career that they want to win. They want to add this to their Palmares.
They certainly do, and we've got some rather interesting autumnal weather conditions to contend with as well. Around 11 or 12 degrees, so pretty chilly, but again we are in October and quite a breeze blowing as well, around 20 kilometres an hour blowing from the southwest. And a little bit of housekeeping in relation to the circuit. It's 8 laps of 13 kilometres, and that equates to 101 kilometres, all 63 miles. Not long now before the flag will be pulled in. We're about halfway around the circuit. This is Burton Road, and we've got a very technical drop into Burton Village. Our first glimpse of what can be quite a treacherous descent, especially in these slippery, wet conditions.
And so close to where the neutral section is as the flag is waved. Racing is underway, 81 starters on the line, and already the action at the head of the peloton.
And there's April Tacey in the front at the centre there. One of several riders here from a very, very strong Drops Le Col, supported by a Tempur team. And yeah, the pace is really on at the front there. This is basically the riders jostling for position. We talk about the Michael Gate, the fearsome slopes, 20% gradient in the cobbles, but Burton Village is going to be very, very technical indeed, and riders just want to make sure they're at the front. But this is our first run-in to the Michael Gate climb. And that little climb there, Hannah, it's pretty difficult too, isn't it?
It's deceptively hard, isn't it? Around 7-8% gradient there, and Joss Loudon of the Drops Le Col team wanting to try and make things hard. You can just see from that effort how much damage she's done. Already riders starting to lose contact.
They certainly are. But look who's on the Anna Henderson there in that black and yellow kit, riding for Jumbo-Visma. The newly minted time trial champion just behind her as well. Pfeiffer Georgie has to be one of the favourites today, but we know this race, whatever the distance, men's and women's races, has to be raced from the front, especially first time up the Michael Gate. Positioning here crucial
because of the weather conditions as well, Matt. It adds to that added element of difficulty, the positioning, making sure you're up towards the front, and the run into Michael Gate as we come here. Anna Henderson leading through. When you get to Michael Gate, there's only around space for 3 riders side by side.
There's a real pinch point at the bottom here. We've hit the Michael Gate for the first time. Just moving on the right-hand side, Joe Tindley, the local team pro Noctis there, won the Circuit Race Championships just a few days ago. And on the left-hand side there is Henderson in the middle. Couple of riders there from the Drops Le Col. Fearsomely difficult climb. Riders having to sit down on these slopes, so to keep traction.
It's so important to make sure that you can put all the power out rather than letting the back wheel slip because of the conditions. And you can see that Henderson, she's opting to take the gutter on the left-hand side of our screen, the smoothest option. A little bit of a risk. Anna Christian, though, of the Drops Le Col team in that pale blue jersey, straight down the centre of the road.
Yep, you do see riders just picking that cobbled option, because if you do get it wrong riding in the gutter, it's smooth, but if you clip your pedals you can come to grief. So riders choosing their lines, and look at the centre of the road here. We've got this moss, we've got this grass. It's almost like riding off-road. this ancient climb taking us into the city centre in the shadow of the cathedral, and first time up, as we expected, some serious damage has been done.
We know how important it is, and we've said how important it is to race from the front because of this climb, and already look at the damage. A select group of riders with gaps starting to open up.
Some serious gaps, as you say, Hannah. Back briefly onto the tarmac, then back onto the cobbles through this beautiful square here. The rain continues to fall. Rider just getting across the gap there. That looks like Sophie Wright, the last rider across to that move. But just look how strung out they are. Big gaps appearing. Riders fighting to stay in contact, as well as controlling the bike around that corner, because the bikes drift really wide.
And so important over this top section as well, that you can try and get yourself back into contention. Again, deceptively hard. It still starts to drag over the top road of Castle Square, and still riders still climbing the Michael Gate.
We've got a rider that's come to grief there. Couple of riders down. Just shows how difficult it is to keep traction. She just tried to turn the bike to the right, and she essentially went straight on there. Never good to see, because that's Sophie Earle. Well, breathless stuff, but look at the quality of the riders that we have in this group. Danny Christmas, Joss Loudon, April Tacey, defending champion Alice Barnes is in that group as well. Joe Tindley, Pfeiffer Georgie. This is a real select group of riders that have managed to move clear, and they're opening up a gap. But this climb, so hard, but there's no descent over the top. It's the pressure, it's continued over the top.
And taking a look at who's in this leading group, we have strength in numbers from Drops Le Col, so it's in their best interest to pursue this move. 4 riders in this group of 12. They're in such a strong position now, Matt.
Yep, they certainly had a plan, and they've forced this big split. And as you said, superb to get 4 riders out in front. This could be a very critical move, as we see one particular rider coming to grief on the climb. This race certainly isn't for everyone. Deep into the race now, still 12 riders out in front, and this is our penultimate and 7th ascent of the fearsome Michael Gate. Hannah, some legs are really going to start to be hurting now.
They certainly are, because the pace has been ferocious, not only on the Michael Gate but across the whole course, when we've seen how ferocious it has been, and the performance from some of these riders, especially Drops Le Col, who have been wanting to try and push this on to deter any riders trying to get across.
Well, just look at the pain that Tindley is in, getting detached from this group. Loudon on the front there, really turning a huge gear on this climb. On the left hand side, Anna Henderson just turning a little bit of a lower cadence, also in the mix there and pulling clear. Pfeiffer Georgie and also Anna Shackley as well. This is a strong group. Hannah Barnes, the defending champion, just hanging on to the back of that group as well.
Yeah, you can see how much it's starting to bite now. Sophie Wright just finding herself in difficulty, and this pace set by Joss Loudon is really doing some damage. We've seen almost the group split in half here. Tindley has been distanced.
Also, Joss Loudon in the back of that group with a fighting, spirited performance there by Sophie Wright to just try and get herself back on just before we hit the cobbles again and go through the line to take the bell. This is the final lap, and in 8 miles' time we will know who is going to be the Women's Elite National Road Race Champion, and right now it's very difficult to tell.
Very open here. We have no teammates within this leading group of 6 currently, so they're all they have no backup, they have no teammates to help them, as some of the Drops Le Col girls and Joe Tinley just going through the line, so they've lost an awful lot of distance on that penultimate climb.
But look at this, although they were forcing the pace just over the top, it's eased off a little bit. It's all back together with Buckcut. Although we had that split, we've now got 12 riders out in front. This is an interesting little move. April Tacey, one of the youngest riders in the Drops Le Col squad, has gone clear on the run in to the city centre, and she's moving clear.
Was real surprise there. No reaction from any of the riders. They're all starting to look at each other, and that cagey, the tension is starting to build. I think no one wants to take this up at the moment, and Drops Le Col doing a fantastic job just patrolling the front.
Well, that was Anna Christian on the front, but look at the gap, look at the daylight here that has opened up here. This is a quite remarkable performance by Tacey. She looks again under her arm, and what you will see is her own teammates patrolling this breakaway. Still nobody has attacked from behind. Wonderful riding here by Drops Le Col. Looking at the rider just at the back there, Anna Henderson. I wonder what she's thinking, because this would be a quite remarkable coup if she was to stay away.
And with only a few kilometres to go, and now we're starting to see Henderson is making her move of Jumbo-Visma. She's directly followed though by Danny Christmas there of Drops Le Col, so Drops Le Col have this well patrolled.
They certainly do. You could just see Henderson dropping off their textbook manoeuvre, wasn't it, to gather some pace and accelerate up this nasty little drag. We only have about 2.5 kilometres still to go, and Tacey, perhaps she is now believing she can pull off a quite remarkable ride here, but look at her face. Her shoulders now just starting to rock and roll a little bit. It's for the first time we've just seen Alice Barnes move to the front here, Hannah, perhaps thinking that the championships is moving away from her.
And with no teammates to help her, she has to commit, she has to risk this now, because she can sense that the championship is going away from her. At the moment, she's patrolled, she's caught down straight away by Anna Henderson. Pfeiffer Georgie is straight on that move as well.
They're moving back down into Yarborough Road very, very shortly. This is this little bit of a hill that just ramps up, ratchets up the gradient, almost like a brutal ramp test before that drop down in. We've only got about 1,500 metres to go, and she still has, as she checks the gap. Does she believe this is absolutely incredible? Still a little bit of a stalemate behind as well.
Yeah, another lull, and here Anna Henderson, she's wanting to try and force a little bit of pace to inject some acceleration into this group, and where's the next move going to come from?
Josie Nelson also in the mix there. You can just see the pace has knocked off. They're spread across the road. Is there enough tarmac for that group behind to pull a flying April Tacey back? We know how riders can capitulate on this final climb. We know in the last 250 metres riders can lose a lot of time as Shackley now accelerates.
Yeah, the newly crowned under-23 time trial champion, she senses this danger on the steepest part. This is where she excels, and the gap roughly around 14 seconds now for Tacey, so a lot of work to be done before they reach the lower slopes of the Michaelgate.
Christmas now suffering, but the rider out in front isn't suffering. She's pressing home this advantage. She's got it on the 11 sprocket there, the biggest gear that she can turn on this descent, and she still has about 10 seconds, but they can see her out in front. There's one more left-hander here than the second left-hander before we get to the foot of the Michaelgate for the last time. What a thrilling championships this has been.
For Tacey, she has to leave it all on the road here. She can't save anything back. She has to commit fully to this move now, because surely she can start to sense and feel that the championships are going to be hers.
Well, the rain continues to fall. Atrocious, difficult, wet, slippery conditions, but you know what? It just adds to the drama, adds to the atmosphere, because very, very soon, in the next minute and a half, we're going to know who's going to win this championships. Another left-hander, and Tacey now rounds the bend. There's only a little bit of tarmac left before the fearsome slopes of the Michaelgate rear their head. Barnes at the front of the group here, and this is the moment where Tacey hits the cobbles. She selects the right-hand gutter. She's still got a lot of pace here, urged on by this crowd here in Lincoln. Meanwhile, behind, riders starting to lose contact. The pace at the front, absolutely ferocious.
Defending champion Alice Barnes, that's her done for the day. She's given it everything to try and go in defence of this title.
Well, we've got on the right-hand side Joss Loudon using the left-hand guard. Where is April Tacey? Has she still been caught? Well, what a fascinating battle this is on the slopes of the Michael. There is Tacey, and she's been overhauled and overtaken. It's Loudon that's there as well, but also on the left-hand side, where's Pfeiffer Georgie emerges from nowhere. Pfeiffer Georgie from Team DSN has stolen a march. She rounds the left-hander. The road will kick up again, but to just behind her, Josie Nelson putting in the performance of her life. Henderson there as well. Just Loudon in the mix as well. Another sharp acceleration from the 21-year-old. This could be the title. She rounds the corner, back on to the tarmac mercifully for the last time to pick up some pace. The crowd urge her on. I think she's got this one, Hannah. She has, onto the cobbles for the last time, and the title is hers. What a win for Pfeiffer Georgie. She cannot believe it. Absolutely sensational.
A sensational ride there, shaking her head in disbelief. Josie Nelson taking the second, Joss Loudon for third, Anna Henderson crossing the line in fourth, and Anna Shackley taking fifth place in this national championships.
Well, it all came together, didn't it, Hannah, on the final climb. It's a despair for April Tacey, but what a brave performance. But in the end, it was all about timing, all about who had that little bit left in their legs, and it was Pfeiffer Georgie who takes the title. Well, here is confirmation of the result. Your new national champion, Pfeiffer Georgie of Team DSM. In second place, and with the silver medal, Josie Nelson of Team Co-op High-Tech Products. And rounding out the podium in third, Joss Loudon of Drops Le Col, powered by Tempo. So champagne time on the podium, and 5 for Georgie. Double celebration for her because she's the under-23 champion as well. Well, an emotional podium. What a race we had.
I think probably I would have needed about another 5 or 6 kind of reps up Michael Gate to be able to kind of maybe have an edge at the very last climb, or maybe just a bit longer, but I'm quite happy with third. I think we did well as a team today.
I think I was a bit of an underdog. I haven't done that much road previously, but I've done quite a lot this year, so I've got into it.
And you've got some cycling sisters, of course, so it runs in the family. So, I mean, this is bragging rights for you, is it, over your sisters?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Still raining here in Lincoln, but I know that the winner of today's race, under 23 and elite women's champion, 5 for Georgie, likes it wet, don't you? You like filthy weather, and it's been proven because you won in it.
Yeah, actually this is my favourite conditions to race in, and I'm used to racing a season in Belgium and Holland where, yeah, this is pretty standard, so yeah, I quite liked it today.
The selection for the race happened really early on. I saw you right at the front there on the first climb of Michael Gate, next to Anna Henderson as well, and that made all the difference, you think?
Yeah, I knew coming into it that positioning is key in this race. Yeah, coming into this climb with the descent and the twisty corners, and yeah, I didn't quite expect it to be only 12 after the first lap, but I knew that splits can happen, yeah, early on, so you have to be there every time and yeah, stay sharp with positioning.
You beat the reigning champion Alice Barnes, Hannah Barnes in the race as well, former champion Lizzie Deignan, a former winner. You're in great company now in that jersey.
Yeah, it's actually really special. I couldn't believe it when I crossed the line. Yeah, it's an honour to wear this jersey for the next 12 months, and yeah, I'm really going to enjoy every race in it.
Well, you're only 21, so you've got plenty of years ahead. Pfeiffer, huge congratulations, really well done today. Next up, it's the men. Let's hear from them now.
Nationals is one of the most exciting races for British riders, and to have it here in Lincoln on pretty much the most iconic domestic race going, it's going to be an exciting day.
It's something I definitely want to win before I stop cycling, so yeah, it's probably a good opportunity for me to do that.
Yeah, it would be amazing, wouldn't it, to win 3 national titles in a week, but I think I've got my work cut out with one of the strongest start lists in a while for the World Tour riders, and a few British teams with 10 guys. So
my cousin's had the jersey a bit too long now, so no, yeah, super happy for the national championships to come. Obviously, it's at the end of the season, so it kind of keeps that motivation going. You get to the end of the season with the last races, and you're kind of looking forward to having some time off your bike. But being the national championships here, last race of the season for me, it's a big goal.
First and foremost, if I don't win, then Ethan's got to win. We need to keep it in the team, and I think Ethan's had an absolutely incredible year. I think he's been one of certainly the standout riders of the year, and it's well within his reach and his capability, and he'd do the jersey proud, that's for sure. But for me, I'd like to keep it.
it's usually a bit longer, the nationals or the races we do in Europe, but it's going to be flat out, I think, from the gun with how the nationals usually are, and some rain will just make it harder and probably more attritional, so that's going to be quite fun.
The race normally brings big crowds, but I think to have the first national championships post the pandemic, I think we'll see a real buzz, and as we've already seen, like in crit and things like that, but I think the crowds are going to be real good.
As you can see, conditions here at Lincoln Castle still wet and breezy. It's going to make the men's race very interesting indeed. Let's get your commentary now from Adam Blythe and Matt Stevens.
131 riders on the start line for the Men's Elite National Road Race Championships. 13 laps of this iconic circuit, and the countdown begins. Mark Cavendish in the centre there, looking pensive, looking focused, a former champion himself, of course. Ethan Hayter just behind him, one of the pre-race favourites. And they are off. Oh, alongside me again, Adam Blythe, former national champion yourself. Big race, but what an iconic circuit the Lincoln Grand Prix is, incorporated into the British Championships, Adam.
Yeah, I think it's one of the historical races within the GP racing scene where, it's one of the most fought out ones. You always get high levels of entries for it, and to have the nationals here and on a closed circuit as well, so you can see quite a lot of it, the same finish each time. It's a brilliant race, and to have the nationals on again and in Lincoln, it's fabulous.
That certainly is. Well, the weather's improved just a little bit from the women we had earlier on. A little bit of rain falling, but lighter, and forecast to ease off towards the end of this race, which is scheduled to run out for about 3 hours and 45 minutes. But there's Ben Swift just behind Mark Cavendish, Alexander Richardson just on the front there. And this is a little bit further up the circuit on Burton Road. The flag about to be dropped. Key this first part, because we've got the descent of Burton Village early on, and we know how technical that is. We know how that split the field a bit in the women's race, so I think there'll be a bit of jostling early on.
Yeah, I think so, and always with the Nationals there's always that breakaway where people try to get in the early breakaway. They might be allowed up the road a little bit, but I think, you know, within the Nationals it's never that first break that will go to the finish. You always have to be patient, let it get hard and then react to the breakaway.
Well, here we go, the race is underway. The neutralised flag has been pulled back into the lead car, and the championships has started. As we look towards the back of the field already, Adam, they're moving pretty quickly. This is the approach to the Michael Gate up Yarborough Road, and this itself is a nasty little drag before the actual climb to the Michael Gate, so it's quite a complex running to the line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult, and you can just see, there seems to be a crash in the middle of the road there, so one crash down already, and that's just through the stress of the peloton all the riders wanting to be towards the front, be in a good position for Michael Gate. We know how difficult this cobble climb is. We can see it just here, the fight to get into this downhill to make sure you're in good position, as I said, to assure that you're in a good position to go up Michael Gate, a steep cobble climb. It's vital on these first couple of laps. Well,
that was Matty Dobbins who crashed there. On the front, though, is the defending champion, Ben Swift. But just look how stretched out this field is, in part due to that little coming together. Independent person doing a good job on here. This is a really fast running. This is our first real look at these still sketchy conditions, although the roads are drying. Ben Swift looks very, very confident. Clearly, this is a race, as we know from ourselves. You've got to race it on the front foot as we get our first attacker on the lower slopes of the climb. Yeah, it looks to be Lewis Askey there on the attack straight away. So the first time up the climb and one attack, but at the minute, you know, he's just on his own. He's not really going anywhere, and the other riders will be looking at him thinking, this is brilliant. He can go out and tire himself out, and I'm sure he'll be aware of it when he gets onto the top of the climb, but no real fight behind to chase him as of yet. Well, Lewis Askey, a very, very classy bike rider riding for the Groupama FDJ Continental team. He signed a World Tour contract for the next couple of years. So just moving around, that's where the road just flattens ever so slightly. Then there's a sharp left and it rears its head again onto these really bumpy, narrower cobbles. And you can just see the moss and the grass there, but a great crowd here. The atmosphere on this race, absolutely electric as ever. Yeah, as ever. And I think this is probably the closest you'll get as a road rider, as a road racer, to have that feeling of like riding on a stadium, in a stadium. I think the crowds are everywhere, and especially on this finish straight up Michael getting through the finish here, there's just crowds all the way around this 1 kilometre stretch. Really, it's fabulous if you're a bike rider to get that atmosphere. It certainly is, and Askey is using, I think, that adrenaline dump. He's heated up pretty quickly, loosened off his top. As we see, Mark Cavendish in third place there, clearly had a very good climb. Ben Swift on the inside, the defending champion, remember. Only 3 riders here from the Ineos Grenadiers, Swift, Hayter and Owain Doull. As the bunch rounds their way through this market square. Interestingly, Adam, on that first ascent, it wasn't quite as stressful as I thought, and Askey still clear. Yeah, still clear. He's still off the front ever so slightly. You can see now, I think that's Dan Bingham coming there from Ribble Well type with the orange helmet on. So just bridging across to him. They'll probably form a little group. You can still see the action behind riders attacking from that main peloton. You can just see what happens from Michael Gate. Just the road after it stretches things out massively. And if you're at the back, it's going to be a long chase. It's basically pretty grim, isn't it? Oh, to see Bingham there. An exceptionally good time trialist. Recently broke Bradley Wiggins' British hour record, so a guy that knows how to ride quickly, that is for sure. Very aero, but as you said, the complex nature of this course, one of the hardest things about it, Adam, is there's no immediate rest after the top of the Michael Gate. As we swing down now into Burton Village, and it looks like one of the riders from Team Inspired looks to be trying to get across. It looks like it's the figure of Sam Watson, but this is a little bit sketchy through here. Yeah, I think there should be caution taken through here. You can see the man there with the yellow flag flagging people down, telling them to back off a little bit, and it's just through these tight corners. I think there's a right there and then there's another left after it, so it's fast and furious, this descent. And although it doesn't really look it on TV, we saw there on the sign 35 miles an hour. They are rocketing down it. They really are shifting, having to shave off a lot of speed, but Bingham is certainly taking a few risks here with those narrower aero bars forcing the pace, and they've opened up a gap purely on these corners. Cavendish are not too many places behind, still holding firm, but this is right back. Around 30 seconds have passed. This is still the peloton wending its way down this very technical little climb through Burton Village. It's not a place you want to be.
No, it's not a place you want to be. This is a place you want to be. You've got the riders off the front now. You've got Bingham there, Harry Tanfield, Ben Swift in there, Jake Stewart from Group Armour in the blue by the looks of things. And it looks to be, I think, Dan McClay just on the black with those red sleeves. So a good group that's gone up the road now.
Yeah, it's a very, very strong group indeed. We've seen how aggressive and how well positioned Ben Swift has been. He's in very, very good form. No wins this year, but of course a 2.5 year stint in that jersey. But look at the devastation behind. Riders still fighting to get back on terms, but this move working very well. And Adam, they're moving away, yeah.
Yeah, the gap is growing, isn't it? And this is the kind of move that you'd expect to see to go to the finish. I'm sure we're going to see riders within this group here that will probably end up being at the finish. It's got the strong calibre in it, and more ultimately than anything, it's got the reigning champion in there, Ben Swift.
It certainly has, with Swift looking good. This is a chase behind, or the bunch, should I say. Ethan Hayter on the front, the time trial champion, remember, and the circuit race champion. Boy, is that rider in good form. In the centre, this is fascinating. You can just see Tanfield on the right-hand side picking the right-hand gutter. On the left-hand side is McClay. Bingham looking good, though. The specialist time trialist really showing his chops on the cobbles.
Yeah, he definitely is indeed. I think everyone, this group here is just taking it fairly steady up the cobbles. You know, they want to keep it together. When they get on the top of the climb, you've got big engines in there. Harry Tanfield, Dan Bingham. And behind it, just look over Ethan Hayter now, just body language just shifting there a little bit. He seems to be pushing on. He just looked over his shoulder, saw a few people suffering, and I think he might have opened up the gas a bit to try and bridge across to this group. Yep, he has done indeed.
He certainly does. Connor Swift was also in the mix. Not much between our 6 leaders though. McClay just on the wheel there of Ben Swift as they round the corner back into Castle Square again. Bingham happy to kind of force the pace, gulps in the air. Stewart looks pretty composed on his wheel as well. And I must say, I'm very, very impressed by Sam Watson, the youngster there, riding for Team Inspired. But look at the difference in the faces of the riders behind, trailing in the wake of Hayter, who's floated off the front.
Who has floated off the front, indeed. There's a chase around. You've got Connor Swift there, Fred Wright, Lewis Askey chasing him, but he has got a gap very, very quickly. That shot we saw of him, he didn't have any lead at all. And that next shot we got of him there, he was basically 10-15 seconds in front of them, so he's flown up that climb.
He certainly has. Look at him. He's in consummate form and makes it look oh so easy. Into the penultimate lap of this British Championships, and defending champion Ben Swift leads this group of 4. Fred Wright on his wheel. Just looking round is Tanfield. This is the chase group behind with Ethan Hayter. And this is interesting. What does Hayter do here? He looks as if he's like a coiled spring, but obviously can't drag that group back up.
No, can't drag that group back up to Ben Swift, his teammate there. He's either going to have to go on the attack and take maybe one rider with him and use him to his advantage, but ultimately, more importantly actually, is that if Ben's aware that Ethan's behind, he can also play that card. So it works well for both of them really if Ben's got the legs to finish it off, but if he hasn't and Ethan doesn't close that gap, then they're going to be in trouble.
Well, this is Sam Watson on at the front of this group. Askey in there as well. Just second from last is the rider looking to add a 3rd national title, and this race is really spread out. I cannot see this back group getting in contact now, and there's a move near from Tanfield as they approach the penultimate ascent of this fearsome climb.
Yeah, there is a Tanfield here. He's just sort of stretching his legs a little bit. Dan McClay being aware of that, following ever so slightly. But on these downhills, you can afford to let the gap go a little bit and use that aerodynamic advantage you've got. But the chase is not too far behind.
No, it's still within striking distance, so we've just started to see the body language of our front group as we go to the back again. This is Charlie Tanfield back. A wonderful shot here of Fred Wright leading the group through. Tanfield again really likes to start at the bottom, maybe giving himself a little bit of sliding space. Probably will pick the right hand side. That's the route he's chosen every single time up this climb. But the fatigue is really going to start to set in now. These last couple of climbs are going to be hellish.
Yeah, they definitely are indeed. And as you said there, Matt, Harry Tanfield, each and every time he's gone up that right-hand side, he knows where to ride, he knows the smoothest bit, and he's just doing what he needs to do and what he's comfortable with, what he's confident with each lap. But, you know, the way they were playing cat and mouse at the bottom of here, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw a little acceleration maybe from one of these riders here in the middle. I don't think McClay's quite got the legs, but Tanfield just getting a little bit of distance there between him and the other riders. Fred Wright reacting to it.
Yeah, big move there from Fred Wright. Look, a massive seated acceleration there. You can just see Dan McClay really starting to struggle, his legs buckling, but what a move here by Fred Wright from Bahrain victorious. And he's drawn Ben Swift, who hunches over the bars in that familiar style of his, drives across the gap here. 2 riders going clear, but Tanfield still got a lot of fight but it looks as if Maclay really starting to struggle as we head towards the top of the climb for the penultimate time.
Yeah, Maclay really starting to struggle, but you can just see they're only just gone round that corner, and just coming round that corner now, he's still within touching distance. He just has to try and hang on and try and recover as much as he can, and probably knowing that he's got bad legs, if he gets on, he can just say, I can't help, guys, I'm just all or nothing now, and I'm going to have to sit on.
Fred Wright and Ben Swift take the bell. There is Harry Tanfield. He's the type of rider that should be able to get across this gap as we look behind at the chase group. It's hovering at around 50 seconds at the moment. Askey on the front, but Hayter seems to be just dropping off the back. Former champion as well, Connor Swift now dropped.
Is he going to react? He almost looks like he's too controlled and too busy looking at his watch rather than actually going for it. He's just the Askey there, just looking behind, wondering what's happening. It's always this part of the climb where Hayter almost accelerates a little bit, but if he needs to bridge across that gap, which I think he does, you can see there, he's pushing on now Askey's face behind him. Look at him trying to respond to that acceleration. It's almost like he rode the bottom half it controlled, let the wheel go a little bit. Askey almost waited for him, then he decided the last 50 metres of the climb in this part, he's going to push on. So it's odd way to ride, I think, for Ethan Hayter. I'd have expected him, if he wanted to jump across, go at the bottom of Michael Gate this climb that he's just finished.
Well, Hayter deceptive. Look at the differing body languages there. Good ride there by Richardson as well, but we've only got now 3 riders left in front as the remnants, James Shaw rolls through here, the remnants of the third group on the road, shattered to pieces on the slopes of the Michael Gate as Connor Swift solo now, to rapturous applause from the crowd, back to the front of the race. And I tell you what, Ben Swift is glancing round, takes a sip from his bottle. This is an interesting situation here. There's no communication, but does he still ride now? I mean, he doesn't know that Hayter's maybe trying to get across the gap.
Yeah, I mean, he could gamble and sort of say, look, I'm not going to ride anymore, and hope for the best that, you know, he gets within sight so we can back that up. But if they can't quite see him, it's a difficult situation to say Hayter's riding, because they'll be like, well, yeah, we know Hayter's riding, but we want to win the bike race. Are you wanting to win as well, or are you not?
Well, that's the thing about the national championships. It's we don't see teamwork like we normally see in a regular race, because everybody wants to win. There's so much at stake as we head up the road with that. That was the second group back to the front again, and they've definitely slowed up a little bit. These riders now, they're not exactly playing games. There's around 3 kilometres to go now, but you get a sense now that they're steeling themselves for the final assault up the Michael Gate.
Yeah, they definitely are. And Ben Swift definitely looks to be sat on the back, quite happy with sitting on the back as well now. So maybe that is the card that he has played. He's saying, Ethan's coming across, I've got to sit on the back. And Fred Wright looked to be happy to sit in that second wheel there. Tanfield on the front, probably expecting another attack from Tanfield, probably going into the finish. Who knows?
Well, Fred Wright moves to the front, been forced into the front almost in a track style there by Ben Swift. No doubt about the effort, 100% drive there from Lewis Askey. And then rolling through as well, happy to do some chasing, is Ethan Hayter, still with his eye on that third national champions jersey. And with them for company, Dan Maclay dropped from the front, but now just about holding on for grim death. Great ride from the rider from Arkea. And I tell you what though, Hayter makes it look so easy, just rolls that gear out, doesn't he?
He does indeed. And just thinking about that group at the front there, you've got Tanfield in there. His only option really is to attack. I don't think he's going to beat these two on the climb, so he has to attack going into finish. You see Ben Swift there in the middle looking to him.
Yeah.
He's almost waiting for it. Keep an eye on Fred Wright as well, but ultimately just waiting for this attack that Tanfield is going to put in eventually, because he has to do it. That's the only way he can win.
He has to. Yarborough Road again for the last time. Ben Swift constantly looking over his shoulders like a match sprint. This is the attack that you talked about, Adam. It had to come, but the rider that shut it down immediately as Swift goes the left-hand side of that little island. Swift straight into the slipstream of Wright, but Wright just about managing to shut this gap. But when Tanfield lays down the power, it's so difficult to shut the gap.
It is, yeah, and you can still see he's still persisting with it. He's not just looking round, he's not just sitting up, he wants to hurt the riders. So even though he probably knows he might get beat on that last climb, he wants to do everything he can beforehand to try and weaken them a little bit.
Well, Hayter continuing to drive on the front, forward on the saddle now, perhaps sensing there still is a chance to get across the gap. It's around 20-30 seconds roughly. Askey on the wheel, back to the front of the race. It is Tanfield who's forced to the front. Now the road continues to ride, lots of glancing around. they're going to be so nervous now, thinking about what they've got to do. But the rider who's ridden the smartest so far, because of Hayter chasing behind, is Swift. He's in pole position, but it looks to me from the previous lap that maybe Fred Wright could be the strongest.
Yeah, I think so. You just never know with it really, but judging off what we've seen so far, Fred Wright definitely looks the strongest. Ben Swift for me has not put a foot wrong all race. He's always been on the front foot. He's ridden it from the front this whole race, and tactically very aware, and he's not really, as I said, put a foot wrong this race. So can he finish it off a perfect race?
Well, it's getting, the nerves are jangling now. Again, Fred Wright just looks behind. Who we'll see on his wheel is the figure of Harry Tanfield, a little bit further down, but closing the gap slowly but surely is the figure of Ethan Hayter, still rolling that huge gear around effortlessly almost. Askey on his wheel, but it looks as if Dan McClay has now been detached. Cannot hold on to this furious pace being so you can just see them up in front, only 200 metres up the road.
I was just about to say, these guys are going visibly quicker than these guys in front. These guys are playing cat and mouse. You just see Fred Wright speeding up a little bit there, just being aware of what's happening behind, but this is it now, downhill into finish. See Ben Swift just moving up a little bit, making sure he's getting onto the wheel of Fred Wright. Tanfield might try another attack through those corners. We know how quick he is at going through the corners before the bottom of Michael Gate, but Fred Wright just being aware of the situation behind him, just trying to push on ever so slightly and trying to make sure that he comes onto Michael Gate in that prime position.
These are two chasers now. Askey looks for assistance, that familiar style that we've become used to today. Right now on the front. That was a good little play, I thought, by Harry Tanfield there, just dropping off and forcing Ben Swift to shut the gap. But I think Tanfield's options are now pretty limited unless he goes again on that run-in, using that little bit of extra weight. Very aerodynamic rider, dropping off the wheel perhaps, indicating he's going to try something, but Swift refusing to go through, still easing off and constantly glancing around. Meanwhile, these two are closing the gap.
They are closing the gap indeed, and I think if you're Tanfield, you have to attack. You have to attack now. If he wants to, they're in that close enough region now where he can almost bring that back, and out of these three riders, what we've seen, I think he is the weakest. We can see him now going through, pushing on a little bit, so that is exactly what he's doing, trying to secure almost that bronze medal. But look at the fight behind, trying to get into Michael Gate now. Ben Swift, Fred Wright, shoulder to shoulder coming into this final climb.
They swing left, still on the tarmac. It is Harry Tanfield on the front. Ben Swift, the defending champion, wearing number 1, and just behind him is Fred Wright. But meanwhile, the gap has been drastically reduced. We've seen how Leeds can capitulate massively on this climb. Tanfield in that familiar right-hand gutter. Fred Wright accelerating on the left. He's going early, and the reaction comes immediately from Ben Swift.
Right from the bottom there, and Ben Swift reacting to it now, getting alongside him on his shoulder. Ben's putting in the dig now, so Ben started his acceleration. This is his sprint for the finish. Fred Wright trying to get on terms, and he's on his wheel now. Tanfield looks to be going out of it ever so slightly, but still in the lead. Fred Wright coming back alongside Swift now. This is a battle.
And Hayter's in the background as well. Fred Wright goes, steals a bit of a march, sits back down, and now it's Ben Swift, the defending champion. They're neck and neck, side by side, a drag strip on Coddles. Who's got the inside line? It's Swift again. He fights, he digs the face of Wright, sensing perhaps he hasn't got the power to go round him. Swift finds something else, back on to the tarmac one last time before the last few metres of cobbles. He's got this. Swift is going to take another title. He checks the gap. He's got it. Ben Swift is your winner. He takes the win just ahead of Fred Wright. What a quite magnificent ride. And listen to the crowd. Hayter home in third place. There's your podium. What a race, Adam.
Unbelievable, Ben Swift there, and Harry Tanfield just managing to get fourth place. A shame for him he couldn't keep that bronze medal, but what a ride by Swift there. That was just man against man all the way up that climb. Swift got the better of him, and Askey there just hitting his wheel down on the floor. He did seem quite angry that he'd got fifth place, sorry, so still a very respectable ride during these conditions. It's been a brutal hard race right from the go.
Well, emotional scenes here. I know Adam, Ben is a rider we both know very well. He's so likeable. Congratulations there from the runner-up Fred Wright. That was a proper battle. This we always get a wonderful Grand Prix, we always get a great British Championships, but that was something very, very special indeed. And here is the confirmation that Ben Swift has defended his national championships. He wins the race, gold, second place, and the silver medal for Fred Wright of Bahrain Victorious. So rounding out the podium, Ethan Hayter of the Ineos Grenadiers. 2 golds and a bronze for him. Well, there's the under-23 classification as well. That went to Fred Wright. Lewis Askey on the left-hand side in the silver medal position, and Leo Hayter in third. Fun and bubbles on the podium. Just look at the face of Ben Swift there. He'll be delighted with that. A wonderful few days here in Lincoln.
It's been an amazing few days, and I kind of sat back in that group a little bit more while kind of had to, and we then had the Swifty could then follow and save his legs as much as possible, I think, and it worked out in the end for us.
It was just all out up that last climb. I was just desperately trying to beat Swifty. I knew it was into that corner onto the tarmac. Whoever was going to go into that was going to win. Like, we were right neck and neck, but I couldn't do anything. That was all I had.
Ben Swift, once more British national road race champion. The jersey still fits. Well done.
It does, yeah. I mean, kind of got quite used to wearing it now, so I couldn't let it go.
Was it experience that told in the end? Because you were racing some really young, really strong guys. You've been at this a long time. Is that what was the difference?
No, I think, the talent that we've got coming through now is incredible. I've been lucky to be Ethan's teammate this year and just see how well that he's doing, and then obviously Fred's been impressing a lot. And I knew that you have to race the nationals from the front, so I kind of saved a bit of energy there. They was always having to come across, but on this day it was just all about that final climb, and luckily I had Ethan coming across at the end, so I could just try and sit on that last little bit. But yeah, it was a war up at the end. So.
Not just national champion, of course, but Lincoln GP champion too. This historic race, probably the greatest one-day race in the British Canada, and you've now won it as well. That's a special one for the Palmares. No,
that definitely is. I think, like you say, Lincoln is probably the standout race on the domestic scene, and to win it is, even from a kid, I used to come here every year and watch it, and the atmosphere, and today was a great atmosphere. It was so good to see after the couple of years that we had, and to win this race now was, yeah, icing on the cake.
Fantastic, Ben. Really good to see it. You get to wear the jersey, well, for 3 years in total.
Yeah.
Last year was a bit of a freebie, but you've earned this one.
Yeah,
really well done.
I had to prove a point this year, so.
Well, you did it with aplomb. Ben, great stuff. Thanks very much indeed. And thanks to you for watching. Back next year. Bye for now.
To the cobbles for the last time, and the title is hers. What a win! 4-5 for Georgie. They're neck and neck, side by side, a drag strip on cobbles. Who's got the inside line? It's Swift is going to take another title. He checks the gap. He's got it. Ben Swift